It's time again for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show covering fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation and destinations right here in the region you live and play in. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, makers of the world-famous wedding ring spinner, by Loophole, America's Optics Authority, and by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Northwestern Outdoors is also sponsored by Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon, where you'll find both nature and fun. By Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering you the affordable Canadian fishing trip of a lifetime. And by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. So grab your fishing rod or hunting gear, load up the boat or lace up your boots, and let's head outdoors with your host, John Cruz.
It's Labor Day weekend, and I gotta ask, what are you doing? Are you tuning in while you're camping at a state park or maybe National Forest Service campground? Or maybe you're at the coast. Maybe you are at a lake. Maybe you are, I don't know, at a river somewhere. After all, Labor Day weekend is the unofficial end of summer. It doesn't end for another few weeks, but a lot of folks kind of hanging up after Labor Day weekend, and it's the last hurrah, especially for families with kids that are heading back to school. As for me, I'm not camping. I've been out dove hunting. As a matter of fact, my daughter just got her hunter's ed certificate. This is her first year with a shotgun in the field. It's been a ton of fun. I know one popular place to go this Labor Day weekend is to the Oregon coast, which is why we went 2 weeks ago, so we could avoid the crowds. Our destination, Tillamook. Home to Tillamook ice cream, home to Tillamook cheese, and also a place where you'll find great fishing, great crabbing, camping, hiking, wildlife watching, and more. We were at Cape Lookout State Park, and we took the opportunity to talk to Park Manager Kirk Barham and Park Ranger Jason Elkins about camping there, about playing on the beach, about the great hiking opportunities available at Cape Lookout. We also talked to these two about Cape Mears Lighthouse and Munson Creek Falls, and we're going to share all of that with you during the show. We also dropped by Tillamook Sporting Goods, a big sporting goods store, maybe the biggest on the Oregon coast, and we checked in with them about salmon fishing in the bay this month and in the area rivers this fall, along with the great crabbing going on right now. We'll tell you where to go around here, whether you are a land-based or boat-based crabber, and throw in some bonus clamming information too. Author and search and rescue dog handler Robert Calkins is back with us this week. If you find yourself in need of rescue in the backcountry, you'll be interested in exactly how a search and rescue operation works. Robert has got the details on that for you. In our outdoors news segment, we'll tell you about lighted arrow knocks, which are legal in one Northwest state, but not in another, and that's causing some confusion. We'll also give you the results of the NSIA Buoy 10 Salmon Challenge that took place at the mouth of the Columbia on August 19th, and give you an update about how much money anglers are making so far who participate in the northern pike minnow sport fishery and where the hot spots are on the Columbia and Snake Rivers, just in case you want to join in on the fun. We've also got a new Dodger to tell you about on this week's Max Minute with Lance Mers, some fun upcoming events taking place this month on the northern Oregon coast, and of course, our trivia question of the week, where you get the chance to win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. But before we go any further, summer is not over yet, and that means there's still some fantastic largemouth bass fishing to be found here in the Northwest. Matt Rice asks a local expert about how he catches summertime bass this week on Sportsman Spotlight. Sportsman Spotlight is sponsored by Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing out of Port Hardy, BC, where the salmon fishing was nothing short of wonderful this year. Find out more at coastwidesportsfishing.com.
This is Sportsman Spotlight with Matt and Tom. We're still in the thick of things as far as the summer heat wave goes, but it's not too late to get out there and hook into some bass. Lane Andreessen out of Washington State shares a few tips on bass fishing. What's your favorite way to fish for bass, Lane?
It depends. A lot of times I'll fish topwater. You can use a number of different baits. One of my favorites is, your frog or Gary Yamotos. They're like a fake worm, and they're actually salted, and there's different colors. And
You do a lot of fishing off the bank?
no, we got a boat and a trolling motor. We'll go out and troll around the pond. We have about a 2-acre pond, and we like to focus on going all the way around and hitting the different holes. If you can, It depends on the time of year, but top water seems to work really well in the middle of summer. You'll see the bass be really active and wanting to feed off of mosquitoes and different stuff like that. So we found that, your best top water bait could be like a frog or anything that you can make a lot of action on top of the water.
What's the best time of day to go?
I found that early mornings or evenings was the best. Sometimes during the heat of the day, it was really difficult to get the activity out of the fish. It seemed like if you were out there early, they were wanting to feed, and in the evenings is when we had the best luck.
Thanks for listening to Sportsman Spotlight with Matt Rice.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're broadcasting from the Oregon coast, just a few miles south of Tillamook. Our location is Cape Lookout State Park, a wonderful place. And with us here to tell you more about it is Park Manager Kirk Barham and Park Ranger Jason Elkins. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with you, Kirk. Why don't you give our listeners a brief overview of this fantastic park on the beach?
Sure. Cape Lookout State Park consists of about 2,200 acres. We're situated right close to Netarts Bay. The park comprises of a kind of a coastal forest land. We have a spit that goes out and basically into the ocean, 2 miles. It's a easy walk from the campground. Our campground is situated in an area where we have some of the best views, actually, of the coast. Some of the best walking that you can find just coming right out of your campsite. I say one of the best values that we actually have on the Oregon coast is our cabins. You can't get much closer to the ocean than our cabins. We have 6 cabins, 13 yurts, about 176 tent sites, and 30 full hookups. And we're pretty full most of the year from, I would say, late April, early May, all the way through September.
Well, there's a good reason for that. And like you said, I think the beach is the big reason. Folks, Kirk is absolutely correct. Huge campground with all these different options to choose from in terms of how to stay and how to camp. But literally just steps away from this beautiful beach. Last night, I was watching the sunset with about 50 of my new closest friends. And it was just spectacular out there. And like you said, that you got that 2.5 mile walk to the end of the spit and then back. And so that's a great little walk that you can take during the day. But there's another walk you can take too. In fact, there's 3 different walks because you've got 3 trails about 2.5 miles south of the campground. Jason, tell us about those trails.
Yeah, well, we have the Cape Trail that goes out to the end of the Cape, and that trail is about 5 miles round trip. And it's a moderate hike, not too much elevation gain or loss, but you get great views all the way out to the end of the trail. And at the end of the trail, there's a viewpoint where you can see to the north and to the south. And then we have the North Trail, which is just under 5 miles round trip as well. And that trail is a little bit more secluded, not as many people on that trail. And we also have a 90-foot wooden suspension bridge over Cape Creek that we built a couple years back. And then the South Trail, it is just under 4 miles round trip. And that one's really steep. It takes you down to the south side of the Cape to a secluded beach. That beach, basically, you can only access by foot. There's no vehicle traffic or easy access, so you get a little bit more seclusion down there. And then on your way back up, it is very steep, a lot of switchbacks, so pack a lot of water for that one.
But still, folks, as you're getting a sense here, if you like hiking and if you like the ocean, this is a fantastic destination. But this isn't the only place you need to visit around here because, Kirk, you manage not only Cape Lookout State Park, but you also manage Cape Meares, which has a whole bunch of other offerings, and that's just a few miles north of here.
Yeah, correct. Cape Meares Lighthouse is one of the unique lighthouses on the Oregon coast. You can actually visit a bunch of different features there. We have an octopus tree, which is kind of a heritage tree. It's a neat feature. If you guys haven't seen it out there, we definitely recommend that you go check it out. It has some Native American significance, yeah, some definite lure to it. We're not really sure, what the purpose of the tree was, but it was definitely something that was kind of coerced. It wasn't through nature. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest Google it, and then you'll see the images, and in person is so just that much more empowering to visit that spot. Great viewpoints to the north, great viewpoints to the south. We have an actual bird watching station there that we get seabirds, ocean birds, and some of the best peregrine falcon watching that you can find.
And that's because you have, Three Arches National Wildlife Refuge just right off Cape Meares, don't you?
Yeah, correct. And we actually, during the summertime, we have hosts that work with us and work with the Fish and Wildlife Service, and they are very knowledgeable, and they provide bird watching there throughout the day, can tell you what kind of birds you're looking at, and can actually provide you with the equipment to see the birds and get a closer picture, basically, of them.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're talking to Kirk Barham. He's the park manager for both Cape Meares Lighthouse and Cape Lookout State Park. We're also talking to Jason Elkins, who's a park ranger at Cape Lookout State Park. Jason, something else we ought to talk about here, some of the things you can do. And one of them, whether it's at Cape Lookout or whether it's at Cape Meares, is some of the wildlife watching. We talked about the bird watching, but I've got to imagine when it comes to the gray whales, when it comes to sea lions and seals, both got to be great places to find those.
For sure, and actually the Cape Trail here at Cape Lookout is one of the best spots to go for whale watching because the Cape goes out 2.5 miles into the ocean, so you get a good overview of the ocean, great whale watching up there as well as Cape Meares.
So another place I'd like to talk about, which is about a 15-minute drive from here, and it's another one of the places that you two manage here, is Munson Creek Falls State Park. And this is much different. It's inland, and it's a really tall waterfall that has not a whole lot of water because it's a creek and not a river. Tell our listeners more about this experience.
Well, Munson Creek is a great waterfall. It's actually Oregon's tallest waterfall in the Coast Range. And in the wintertime, the flows do increase, so it's much more impressive during the wintertime, a great time to visit. And also, it gives you an opportunity to see salmon running up the stream and spawning right in the park, actually.
Well, that is really cool. But I got to tell you, I was a little under-impressed, and here's why. I did my quarter-mile hike. I thought it was going to be like a Multnomah Falls experience or something like that, where I'm going to be having this very intimate view of the falls, and the spray's going to be, splashing against me. And instead, I'm still like a quarter-mile away, and I'm looking through the trees, and it's like, okay, I can see most of the waterfall from here, but it was kind of a letdown.
Yeah, well, about 9 or 10 years ago, we had a slide that came down, and it brought a lot of debris and some trees, kind of a jam across the trail. And we actually had the Department of Safety and Risk Department come and look at it, and they determined that it was unsafe to reopen the trail through that area because it was so active. But it has stabilized itself, and we're looking at possibly extending the trail a little further to the base of the waterfall in the future.
Well, as a hiker, I'm looking forward to that, I have to tell you. Kirk, are there any other sites around here that people ought to experience? Because you certainly manage quite a bit of real estate here.
Yeah, actually one of the most popular spots to visit, if you're just coming out to the coast for the day, maybe you're coming from one of the metropolitan areas and you've got a few hours in a place that you want to visit, a place that is often kind of sunny when other areas aren't is Cape Kiwanda. Cape Kiwanda is right at Pacific City. It's an area where you can drive on the beach and park, kind of enjoy Haystack Rock, and we're not talking the Haystack Rock in Cannon Beach. Theirs is actually a little bit smaller than ours. Although, wow. Yeah, so Haystack Rock here is close to 770 feet. The one in Cannon Beach may get more visitation, and it's just a little bit more well-known. So if you want to go to a spot where maybe there's not as many people, although it is getting more and more popular, there's plenty of activities to do there. We've got a 260-foot, roughly sand dune, which is great for the kids to hike. It's great for all ages to hike. You can go up and you can get views to the north side, views to the south. However, this is an area that we recommend people stay in bounds. We've got signs posted all over the place that basically say, warning, danger, please do not go beyond this point. And that's for a good reason, where we have shifting sands. The sandstone itself is very brittle. You may be standing on a shelf that you think is stable, and it just takes your weight to push that over the edge. So we recommend that people go there, but they do it safely and stay within fenced-off area.
All right, we are out of time, but folks, as you can tell, there is so much to do here on the Oregon coast around Tillamook. Whether you come camping for the day to Cape Lookout State Park to enjoy the beach and the hiking, whether you go to Cape Kiwanda, whether you go to Cape Mears and visit the lighthouse and check out the birds and the wildlife, or whether you go hiking south of Cape Lookout, some of the many trails, or even Munson Creek Falls, come on out here. You're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. But if you want to camp, make reservations well in advance. Kirk, Jason, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tired of the noise, the hustle and bustle of the city? Then find your solitude in the lands of Wallowa County. Bring your camping gear and hike into the Eagle Cap Wilderness. Explore the Zumwalt Prairie. Rise with the sun on the Wallowas and hear the early morning stirring of the wildlife. Smell the fresh coffee, the sizzling bacon, and the crackle of the fire. This is a good life, and it's waiting for you in Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Come and enjoy one of Oregon's 7 wonders, and you'll wonder why you haven't been here before. Your getaway starts at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking equipment. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to CampChef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's time again for another extended Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us again, Lance Mers, and we're talking about a sling blade. Yes, but not a Billy Bob Thornton sling blade. Nope, this is actually a Dodger that was made by Shasta Tackle Company, and Shasta Tackle Company's been acquired by Max Lure Company. Lance, tell us more about this Dodger.
This Dodger is absolutely fantastic. As with Max Lure, we've got a Dodger that trolls between 0.8 miles an hour all the way up to a 1.5, 1.6. But the cool thing about the Sling Blade Dodger is that it takes its place at the higher trolling speeds. So you can troll from 1.8 miles an hour all the way up to a 2.5, which is crazy.
That's like trolling for tuna out in the ocean.
It's
crazy.
Absolutely fantastic. And the cool thing about this is it comes in different sizes. We've got a 4-inch, we've got a 6-inch, we've got an 8-inch, and it comes in different series too, such as a UV series, a Diamondback series, Precious Metal series, Shattered Eye series, and a Super Glow series. Try to say all that in one breath.
Looking at the bigger picture, I really like this, and this goes back to the whole merger between Max Lure Company and Shasta Tackle Company, because like you said, now you're producing Dodgers that you can troll at speeds anywhere from less than a mile an hour all the way up to 2.5 miles an hour, which pretty much covers the entire gamut of what you're going to be fishing for in the freshwater.
That's exactly it. And the other thing about this sling blade that complements it so well is that you can actually bend it and change the action of the lure altogether. And when you're done with it, it's going to give you a reactionary type lure where that fish is going to bite in those more lethargic times.
We are out of time, but folks, go ahead and look for the Sling Blade Dodger at sporting goods stores near you or at maxlure.com.
Looking for that extra something that will get more salmon or trout into your boat? Then check out the Double D Dodger from Max Lure. The Double D does double duty and helps you catch more fish. The Double D's flash attracts lunkers, and the Dodger's patented stop-start action works wonders to get those fish biting. The Double D does even more by acting as a side planer to get your bait away from the boat where the fish are more likely to be and more apt to strike. The Double D Dodger. It's the Dodger you've got to have from Max Lure.
Want to earn a serious reward? You can, and all you need is a fishing rod. There's money to be made catching northern pike minnow. There's too many of them in the Columbia and Snake Rivers, and we'll pay you cash to catch them. Pike minnow eat our salmon and steelhead, and that's no good. The season starts May 1st, runs through September, and the more fish you catch, the more you earn. How much money can you make from this program? Well, last year, one angler earned a cool $100,000. Find out more at pikeminnow.org. That's pikeminnow.org. Go ahead, collect your reward.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after, whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out in the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're broadcasting from Tillamook, Oregon, specifically the Tillamook Sporting Goods Store, arguably the biggest sporting goods store you're going to find on the Oregon coast. And we're talking to Brian Derby. He works here at Tillamook Sporting Goods. He also is the co-owner of B&E Guide Service. And it being the end of August, it's time to talk Chinook salmon. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. So you guide out here. Have the Chinook salmon showed up yet in any numbers?
Not in any numbers. They're starting to show now a little more prevalently on the Nehalem, and we'll start to show here any day in numbers.
All right, so let's talk about fishing in the bay itself. When is that really going to get going? And what's the drill? How are people getting fish in the boat?
From the jaws, out in the jaws, usually it's a herring show, trolling herring, cut plug. And then once you're up in the upper bay, ghost hold is still troll herring. And then the upper bay, mimaloose, and those areas are more towards spinners, trolling spinners.
So are you doing this behind weights, or are you doing this with a downrigger, or are you using
weights? Just a typical weight rigging, flasher. Some guys like flashers, some just straight to the herring or straight to the spinner.
So for those that like to use flashers, any color in particular that seems to work?
Chartreuse and green has been the good color this year.
And generally speaking, how deep are we talking here?
Oh, well, that varies. Out of the jaws, it's deeper, 24 to 32, I believe, is in there, and mimaloose and a half, 2 ounces, and a spinner's a real good bet up there.
And again, come early September, this fishery is going to really get going. How long will it last in the bays?
There are guys that'll fish fall Chinook clear until Christmas.
Wow. So as these fish leave the bay, they start coming up into the rivers. Now, are we talking October, November time frame here?
Yeah, we're talking the first good rains, and that could be September sometime, October. Just when we get enough rain to really raise the river levels up is when these fish will start to shoot up.
The rivers here, they're not huge rivers. We're not talking about the Willamette. We're not talking about the Columbia. This is kind of a drift boat show, and I'm guessing...
Yeah, exactly. Lower, you can use a sled in some of those areas, but mostly it's going to be a drift boat show up in the river.
What about bank anglers? Do they get a shot too?
Oh, absolutely. Lots of room. Lots of places. Trask, Kilchis, Miami, Nestucca, Wilson. There's tons of fishing.
So when it comes to fishing the rivers, what's the drill for that?
Kind of what you want to fish. Spinners work good. Plugs, diver and bait, bobber and eggs, bobber and sand shrimp. All your typical techniques, whatever you like to fish should work.
So when we're talking about the bobber and shrimp, are you basically talking about a slip bobber and just having it drift down almost like you would a steelhead jig?
No, it's a slip bobber in most cases, Slip bobber, ounce and a half weight. Eggs, sand shrimp, eggs, tuna belly. Mix it up because the bite changes from day to day. Some days they just want eggs. Some days they want a combination.
Let's talk about plunking. Is that an effective technique here or not?
In high water, the guys will plunk mainly. That's these rivers generally fill and drain pretty rapidly, so plunking's not a real popular, like it is on the Columbia or anything like that. But in high water periods, plunking very effective.
So it sounds like fishing bait under the bobber is probably the go-to way to do this. If there's any other tips you'd give folks for getting salmon on the rivers, what would you tell them?
A good selection of bait. Change your baits up frequently, change your depths, and keep moving, find fish.
Last but not least, let's talk about Tillamook Sporting Goods. Let's talk about your guide service. Tillamook Sporting Goods, what are the hours here? What are the days you're open?
We are open 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 7 to 7, except for on Sundays we close at 6.
And your guide service, I presume you will be guiding for Chinook this fall.
I will, starting around our first rains. I don't do anything in the bay. It's all river show, so as soon as we get our rains, I'll be taking trips.
What kind of boat are you using?
I got a 19-foot North River drift boat and a 17-foot Willie. 2 of them.
Very nice. Okay. And your rates?
$200 a person per day. Everything supplied with the exception of lunch and your license.
Of course. And what's the limit for Chinook salmon on the rivers and in the bay?
Per day. 10 per year wild fish, as many hatchery fish as you can put on your hatchery tag. There is no limit on those. 10 wild Chinook from the Nicanicum River to the Nestucca River, 10 per year.
And I suppose we better give out some information how to get a hold of you. I understand that B&E Guide Service is on Facebook?
It is, B&E Guide Service. You can contact Eric or I.
And there's a phone number too, folks. It's 971-388-5860. That's 971-388-5860. Or shoot them an email at derbybrosfishing@gmail.com. That's derbybrosfishing@gmail.com. Or if that doesn't work, just come into Tillamook Sporting Goods and look up Brian there. Brian, thanks for telling us about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
You bet. Good to see you guys.
Next, we're going to shift gears at Tillamook Sporting Goods from salmon fishing to crabbing. We're talking to Jeff Jordan here. Jeff, there's a lot of good crabbing around here. Got to enjoy some yesterday, and man, you've got some big dungees.
Yes, we do.
Let's talk about crabbing for people with boats, crabbing for people without boats. Let's go ahead and start with those that have boats. Where would you send folks who say, I want to go catch some crab?
I would send them to either Netarts Bay, Tillamook Bay, or Nehalem.
All right. In terms of why these places are so good, go ahead and tell me that.
Well, Netarts Bay is strictly a saltwater bay. There's very, very little fresh water comes into it. Tillamook has very deep channels, and same with Nehalem, the nice deep channels.
For those of you listening to Washington State, another reason to come down here to Tillamook is the limits are very generous compared to what you're used to in Washington State. For example, the Dungeness only have to be 5 3/4 inches wide, which is significantly smaller than what you're going to find in Washington, where it's 6 or 6 1/4. But you're going to find a lot of these Dungeness crab go, close to 7 inches. And the limit is about double from Washington, too. You can get 12 a day as long as they are all male, correct?
Correct.
So let's talk about something else here. Rock crab. Do you find these in these same areas, or are we pretty much talking all of Dungeness show here?
No, you do have the red rock crab. You'll get more red rocks out of the Netarts Bay, not as near as many out of the Nehalem or Tillamook Bay, but you do get red rocks also.
Okay, so we've got that for the boats. And by the way, they sell crab pots here. They sell crab rings. They sell everything you need at Tillamook Sporting Goods. And the prices, by the way, especially right now, towards the end of the summer, are really, really good. So you might want to consider coming in here for your crabbing needs. But turning towards those who are land-based, where would you send them?
I would send them either to Whalen Island at Sand Lake. Here again, Netarts. You can cast from the beach there with the crab hawks or the loop rings. You can also throw a pot from a lot of the beaches around here and let it sit. Or I would send them to the old Coast Guard Pier in Tillamook or the Brighton Marina or Wheeler Marina docks.
All right, so some of those are pay to play, like the Brighton Marina, but the other ones, are those free?
The Coast Guard dock at Tillamook is free, and Whalen Island is also free.
Now, let's go ahead and ask for some local flavor here when it comes to baits. Are you a chicken man, are you a tuna man, or are you just a discarded carcass man?
A lot of it depends on what you're doing in the pots and stuff. We like using the mink carcasses and chicken because it keeps the seals away from them. Fish parts are always a good bet anywhere you go. Casting from the bank and the crab hawks and stuff, a lot of times chicken legs and stuff stay in better. But yeah, salmon parts, old flounder carcasses, mink, chicken, yeah, it works good. One of your best baits for crab is cockles if you can get them.
Well, that's good to know. That is something I did not know. And speaking of which, I'm guessing down at Netarts Bay, I saw a lot of people clamming down there. Were they after gapers and cockles?
Yes, they are. Gapers, cockles, the blues, the steamers.
Steamers. Now you have my interest. Now, folks, we're shifting from crabbing to clamming. Where else are you going to send people for steamers? Because I love steamers. I know a lot of our listeners do.
Steamers, there's a lot of steamers out in Netarts Bay, up in the upper end towards Whiskey Creek, up towards the fish hatchery. Sand Lake is generally, Whalen Island here again is notorious for having steamers in it, and the cockles. They also have varnish clams and soft shells. Not too many blues down there, but the blues and all are mainly in Netarts and Tillamook.
Well, there you go, folks. You've got 3 reasons to come to Tillamook Sporting Goods and stock up and then go fishing, crabbing, or clamming. It's all right here in the Tillamook area. And I can tell you from personal experience, crabs are really big and they're very plentiful. Jeff, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
That'll do it.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, hard-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Want to earn a serious reward? You can, and all you need is a fishing rod. There's money to be made catching northern pike minnow. There's too many of them in the Columbia and Snake Rivers, and we'll pay you cash to catch them. Pike minnow eat our salmon and steelhead, and that's no good. The season starts May 1st, runs through September, and the more fish you catch, the more you earn. How much money can you make from this program? Well, last year, one angler earned a cool $100,000. Find out more at pikeminnow.org. That's pikeminnow.org. Go ahead, collect your reward.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking equipment. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Got a question for you. Care to light them up? We're not talking about cigarettes here. We're talking about lighted arrow nocks, which, starting this year, are legal for bow hunters to use in Oregon. The new Oregon rules, though, have caused confusion in other parts of the Northwest, especially in Idaho, where the Fish and Game Department had to issue a press release stating that lighted arrow nocks are not legal in the gem state. Lighted arrow nocks are the end of the arrow you notch to the bowstring, or the tail end, as it were. The lighted arrow nocks are battery operated, and in the words of Jennifer Jackson with Idaho Fish and Game, kind of make your arrow like a tracer round, letting you see exactly where it's traveling and where it ends up. This makes it easier to find too, on the off chance you missed. Here's the problem. Battery-operated devices are not legal to use with archery equipment in Idaho, whether they are lighted arrow nocks, sights, or rangefinders. The fact they have become legal in Oregon, though, appears to be causing some hunters confusion in the next state over, where rumors have spread rapidly that they're okay to use in Idaho, too. Lighted arrow nocks do have some clear advantages for hunters, but there are purists who argue it makes fair chase a little less fair, and those folks say they should not be legal. Some of those folks are found in Montana's Senate, who voted down a bill in 2013 to legalize use of lighted arrow nocks in Big Sky Country. So, in case you are wondering, and just to clarify for everybody in our listening area, lighted arrow nocks are legal in Oregon and also in Washington and Wyoming, but they are not legal in Idaho nor Montana. And now you know everything you possibly could want to know about lighted arrow nocks. We've got the results of the August 19th Buoy 10 NSIA Salmon Challenge for you. According to Dan Cherry with the Northwest Sport Fishing Industry Association, more than 250 participants took to the Columbia in search of kings and silvers the morning of the 19th. After weigh-in was closed that afternoon, Team Trusty, captained by Glenn Trusty, came in first place with an average team weight of 13.67 pounds per angler. The team was awarded a prize package of G. Loomis trolling rods and Shimano Dakota reels. Second place went to Team Ray Marine, captained by Dave Lee. To round out the top three was Team Okuma, led by Stefan Gambill, who won a Tika rod and reel combo set. Todd Staver brought in the biggest fish of the tournament, with a Chinook weighing in at 18.2 pounds. That also got him a check for $1,000, donated by North River Boats. This was all part of the $15,000 in cash and prizes awarded during this one-day tournament. The best news of all, after all the fish were weighed and awards presented, NSIA was able to raise nearly $50,000 that will go towards enhancing fishing opportunities throughout the Northwest. Further up the Columbia River, and on the lower Snake River too, the northern pike minnow sport reward fishery continues. This is the program where you register at a station near the river, go catch pike minnow, and then turn them in and earn anywhere from $5 to $8 per fish when you do. If you're lucky, you'll even catch a tagged fish worth up to $500. As we mentioned before, you can make a lot of money at this. The season opened May 1st, and the top angler has caught some 10,500 fish, including 3 tagged fish, and made over $85,000 in the process. Heck, even the 20th top angler has made some serious dough, raking in over $16,000 after catching 1,875 pike minnow. The hot spots over the last couple weeks have been at Willow Grove Park on the lower Columbia, where anglers averaged nearly 11 fish each. The Bingen Marina between Bonneville Dam and the Dalles, where a whopping 16.8 fish were caught on average, and Boyer Park on the Snake River, where anglers averaged 8 pike minnow apiece. The pike minnow sport reward fishery season runs through September 30th, which means there's still time for you to get paid to go fishing. Find out more at pikeminnow.org. We're back with Bob Calkins again on Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Last week, he gave us some tips on avoiding getting lost in the woods. This week, he's going to give us a behind-the-scenes look at what happens with a search and rescue mission. Bob should know he's a member of the search and rescue team for Kitsap County. Bob, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here again.
Bob, let's go ahead and talk about what happens from your point of view as a member of a search and rescue team when the call comes out that there's a lost hiker. We're just going to go ahead and have a hypothetical scenario here that a hiker has gone out, they didn't return on time, somebody's made a phone call that they're overdue, and all you know is they're somewhere between point A and point B out in the woods.
We are always called by the sheriff's office, and that's really important for folks to understand. We don't freelance. We don't go out and solicit business or make contact with families. Credible search and rescue teams are affiliated with the sheriff's office and only deploy at the request of law enforcement or other credible authority. So we'll get the call by whatever method is in use in the particular county. We will rendezvous at what we call base or base camp, or a command post is the more correct term now with the way we're managing emergency resources. And the sheriff and the incident commander will determine, based on the traits of the hiker, is it a mountain biker, is it a hiker, is it an elderly Alzheimer's patient? They have characteristics that give us some high probability areas to look in.
Very interesting stuff, Bob. I never thought of it that way. I just assumed that it was a cookie cutter scenario for all of the above. So let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit. So let's take the Alzheimer's patient. How is that different from just a regular lost hiker?
A regular lost hiker may go further and may go out at night. One of the things Alzheimer's patients do is they go to bed at their regular bedtime wherever they happen to be, and for all the tragedy of their memory loss, they know when it's their bedtime. So we found Alzheimer's patients in the bushes outside of a Dairy Queen that was actually open, and they could have gone inside, but they went to bed in the bushes. So we clearly look for different distances. A mountain biker is going to go much further. One interesting thing, though, that's changing is we are finding that as more and more baby boomers get Alzheimer's, they're in better physical shape. They're now traveling further than they used to, and those lines are blurring between the Alzheimer's patients and the hiker.
Very interesting. So you're at the trailhead, you're at the command post, the briefing's taking place in terms of here's the plan, what happens next?
A ground team will go out probably without a dog. We deploy different resources. Ground teams will go out, and what they do, they're in groups of 3 or 4, and they go out and they holler the person's name. Every 5, 7, 10 minutes, they'll stand in a circle, face outward, and try to get the person to holler back to them and then move toward that. That's called a hasty search. It results in a lot of finds, and it's what resolves searches very quickly. There may be areas that are brushier that are more appropriate to search with a dog's nose, and we'll use a type of dog that does not scent discriminate, go out, and we'll try and put that dog on the downwind end of whatever area we think the person might be in, and let the wind carry the human scent to the dog, and then the dog's head snaps, they make the turn, and go back to the subject, just kind of like a bird dog.
You're a dog handler yourself. You've got a golden retriever that you work with. When it comes to scent discrimination, what do you mean by that?
Well, some dogs, and say we're looking for an Alzheimer's patient in town, there's all kinds of people walking up and down the street. So we have to give the dog a scent article so they can identify the actual individual person and follow exactly where they have walked. In the wilderness, there are not as many people in the woods. If we happen to find a backpacker who's not involved, they're a witness. Hey, have you seen Fred?
Sure.
So we put a dog out that doesn't necessarily need to scent discriminate, but that can go through the brush and work actually off lead, well away from the handler.
So the dog that you have, is it a cadaver dog, or is it a dog that scents live scent and hopefully finds somebody okay?
My current dog is at a stage of his training where he works off-lead, air scent, not scent discriminating. He's a wilderness search and rescue dog. We just certified in April, and after a particular waiting period that we do just to make sure the dogs are solid, we'll introduce him to cadaver scent, and we will add that to his repertoire.
When it comes to looking for a mountain biker or a hiker especially, when you just have no idea where they could be in like a 10, 12-mile search area, that's got to be tough as a dog handler to go ahead and work that.
It really can be. Ruger and I were out on a search Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. It was a 4-hour long search that the dog has to stay engaged and enthusiastic, whereas you see most agility trials and obedience, they're done in 10 minutes. So it really requires kind of a special dog who is actually just psychotic for this. To them is a big game.
Right.
We take what they think is a game, but we're actually doing life and death serious work with it.
Fascinating stuff. We are running short on time again, but before we go, I want folks to know about your books. You've got 3 published. Go ahead and tell our listeners about them one more time.
Well, the one for grown-ups is called Digger, Sierra in the Case of the Chimera Killer, and it's based on the exploits of my first search dog, Sierra, where a 17-year-old dog handler and Sierra are one step ahead of the cops catching a serial killer. But before you read that, you can read The Kids to Sleep with Sierra Becomes a Search Dog and Sierra the Search Dog Finds Fred. They're age-appropriate children's books. Also about Sierra, I'm hearing from readers that's producing great discussions between kids and parents who are reading about the same characters.
Great stuff. Now, I know you can find it on Amazon.com, but I understand you have a website as well.
Sure. RobertDCalkins.com, and Calkins is Calkins, RobertDCalkins.com.
There you go. Bob, thanks again for the great advice and the inside look at what happened on a search and rescue mission.
John, stay safe.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
We've got time for one more shot of Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
We hope you enjoyed our trip to Tillamook and Oregon's North Coast this week. If you plan on going in the month ahead, and you should, by the way, we've got a couple of events to tell you about that look like a whole lot of fun. Both are taking place in Pacific City. The first one is the Bloshin Surf Slam. That one's going on September 9th, 10th, and 11th. There's also the Longboard Classic in Pacific City on September 16th, 17th, and 18th. This is an international surfing competition, and surfers from all over the world are coming to Cape Kiwanda Beach to compete. You can find out more about that one at CapeKiwandaLongboardClassic.com. And now, it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. This river in Washington is the Evergreen State's only blue ribbon trout stream, and it produces some very nice rainbow trout pretty much all year long. The stream is favored by fly anglers, though gear anglers fishing spinners or spoons with single barbless hooks do well too. Do you know the name of this river? If you do, go to our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio, like the page, find the post, and give us your answer. Or, if you prefer, go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. Just go to the Contact Us page and shoot us a message as to what river we're talking about here. It's Washington's only blue ribbon trout stream. One lucky person who guesses right will win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. There's Sportsman's Warehouse stores all over the Northwest, and that means there's one close to you, or you can go online to sportsmanswarehouse.com. If you haven't had a chance yet to listen to our new show, America Outdoors Radio, you're missing out. It is growing by leaps and bounds. As a matter of fact, we have added affiliates in Alaska to include Anchorage and all the way up to Prudhoe Bay, about as far north as you can get in Alaska. We've also landed our first affiliate outside of the Northwest in Johnson City, Tennessee. Look for a station near you at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com, and if your station's not there, contact your local station. Let them know you want to hear America Outdoors Radio. It is the national national show with a West Coast influence that covers fishing, hunting, and the shooting sports. The website again is AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Another place you can hear both that show and this show is on WRVO Radio. You'll find that website at RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and both of our shows air there, as well as, 30 plus other shows covering the outdoors throughout North America. That website again, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. That's all for this week. I hope you're enjoying this Labor Day weekend and what is often known as the unofficial end of the summer camping season. Until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.